Hi, it's Bill Sutton.
And Jason Sutton.
Welcome to another episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. And I'm going to start off with our sport business moment today, which might be more than a moment. I've been following this ESPN decline. And Sport Business Journal had a great article on it this past week and showed that its peak, ESPN, the peak was in 2011.
Okay.
And since 2011, look at that graph.
Wow.
It's a pretty precipitous drop.
It's a hill, yeah.
100 million subscribers down to now 86 million subscribers. And that's a pretty good drop off considering that in 2016, distributors are paying ESPN $7 a subscriber. So when you lose roughly 14 million subscribers times $7 a subscriber, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And so, the cord cutting is one thing. And I think the cord cutting is
$98 million. Yeah, the cord cutting is one thing. But I still,
it's one thing. People are going to cut the cord. People are going to do things. People are going to find out what it is. But, looking back and thinking about this, when they bid on the college football championship, or the college playoff, whatever you want to call it, they outbid Fox by $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So, where was the research? Where was the thought process? You could outbid them by $50 million, or you could outbid them by $25 million. You would have got it. And if you think about it, if it was even, would you have gone with Fox or would you have gone to ESPN? You'd probably gone to ESPN because you've got all the college football during the year. So that, and then the one thing that I think is a huge mistake was they doubled the rights fee in baseball from $350 to $700 million.
Right.
And now, what did we do this year? We got rid of Baseball Tonight. We got rid of all the baseball executives. So where is the support to justify that doubling in the rights fee? Because obviously it didn't become what you thought it was going to become. Right?
Right. And I'm not sure about this, but I know that it seems like people love the local feed for baseball.
Yeah,
that's where
true. They like their local guys. Yeah, exactly.
Because baseball is less of a national sport at this point, where it's like people, they like their local team, they support their local team, and they follow their local guys. Like you watch.
Mm-hmm. I watch Root.
You watch Root for the Pirates. You don't watch any. You're not going to watch. If they're on ESPN, there's nowhere else to watch it. But otherwise, you're going to watch the hometown people do the.
Well, that's the other thing, Jason. I don't watch. I don't watch any other baseball other than the Pirates.
Right.
Unless it's postseason and I'm interested in it. But I don't. I follow one team, and that's what I do. And I watch that team wherever it's on. If it's the Fox game, it's the Fox game. If it's the ESPN game, it's the ESPN game. But if I have the opportunity to watch it on Root, I watch it on Root because I want to hear my guys.
Right.
I want to hear the people most knowledgeable about my broadcasters. Now, the last couple of weeks, they've been on some other games. And when the Penguins were on, the Pirates were bumped. And your mother was actually saying that she liked to hear some of the out-of-town people talking about the Pirates just to see what they thought. And that's probably okay, but I'm more comfortable hearing from my guys. So that's another thing. And then I'm looking at ESPN2, which has always been interesting because it's one of those things that's neither fish nor fowl. Remember when years ago they did the Keith Olbermann thing and they tried to wear the cool clothes and everything, those suits, and they were trying to be this trendy thing. And it's down 46% over 10 years, over its high. So, it's half of what it was. So you got to wonder, if you're ESPN, I wonder about the decision making. I wonder about the amounts of money they spent. I really do think they overspent. Their Sunday night football package, $1.9 billion for Sunday night. I think that's a lot. And getting back to the baseball thing, they only get one playoff game. They get a wild card game. That's all you get. You don't get a rotation for the World Series or a rotation for anything else. So, there's some dubious decision making there. And then the fact it's owned by Disney, I think the best thing ESPN has going for it right now is actually the features, the 30 for 30, and some of the journalistic efforts. I think those are really good. I watched the Lakers Celtic thing, and I thought that was one of the best things I'd seen on ESPN.
And although he's no longer associated with 30 for 30, was actually started with Bill Simmons, another one of the people that they let go.
Yeah.
That they seemed to butt heads with. They didn't like and I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff, obviously, because I'm not friends with either group of people, but I know when Bill Simmons tried to basically call Roger Goodell a liar, he got suspended.
Yeah.
So, you're already... if you're supposed to be this sports journalist, a journalist in general, but every time that you go up against a big thing, you cow down and you take the corporate side, which I know that happens far more often than everywhere else, but it doesn't make you look very good.
No.
And like I said, what drove me to sites like Bleacher Report and some of those other sites is that I'd go to ESPN.com because that just became a habit.
Right.
Like since like junior high, it's like, oh,
I'm
going to go check my sports, I'm going to go to ESPN.com. But now all of a sudden it's like every article I look at, ESPN Insider, behind a paywall.
Yeah. They're trying to recoup all those things we just talked about.
But all that does for me, and I know maybe this makes me a cheap person.
You go somewhere else.
It makes me go somewhere else because I can get those same. I'm not missing the
Why
stories.
would you pay for something that you can get somewhere else for free?
Right.
I mean, are you going to get a slant that you haven't heard before, or are you going to get a commentary that's so unique that that's where you want it?
And again, it's stuff. It's even silly stuff like the 10 greatest whatever on ESPN.
Yeah.
But it's behind a paywall, and I'm like, well, I mean. If it was free, or if there was an ad on the page that I had to look at, and then I was going through, I'd probably go ahead and stay on your page, and I'd look at your 10 greatest whatever. But otherwise, I'm going to go to Bleacher Report. I'll go to Fox. I'll go to some of these other sports sites.
Yeah, I mean...
And again, like with you with the baseball with Root, there's a couple Steeler sites that I really like that are Steeler people talking about Steeler things.
Yeah.
And I can find all these individualized, very catered to me sort of websites that,
it's a network with, I think the networks have done a lot for soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. But I think that, I watch the top 10 plays. And if I got to get some game in South America, Ecuador, and somebody else for a top play, that's not ESPN's audience. I mean, it's really not.
No, and it feels like with the top plays, like they go out of their way to make sure they're, no matter what the day is, it's like, well, here's our, high school kids sports thing.
Yes.
Here's our women's sports thing. And again, I'm not saying that those plays shouldn't be included, but not as a rule. It's not like, oh no, we need to have an international soccer play. Like if the 10 best plays all happen to be NFL plays and they were all from the same game, show me those 10 plays.
Yeah.
If those are the 10 best plays.
That's it.
Don't, go out of your way to...
aren't necessarily the 10 best plays.
Right.
They're the 10 representative plays, what are you going to call it?
And again, like I said, it could be, a mismemoryin on my part, but I always felt like growing up, ESPN had a very loose sort of feel. Like it felt like, it felt a little bit more like when I'm watching TNT, when I'm watching Barkley and Ernie Johnson.
Right.
Like I know they have meetings, and I know they have an agenda, and they're going to talk about certain things, but it used to feel like it had that sort of loose feel where, if went on this tangent, go on this tangent. Now it feels very
flexible.
Flexible.
And it could capitalize on the moment. Whereas now it seems like we have to have the best heading play or the best slap shot play or the best glove play. It just seems like we have to check all these boxes because it's too formulaic. I agree with you.
And it also felt like the people you used to have on there. And again, I haven't watched a lot lately, so I don't want to disparage the people that are on there now. But whenever there was a catchphrase or some goofy thing that they would do, it felt more organic. Yeah. Now it feels like you have a writer's room being like, okay, what's the next catchphrase? Okay, cool. What are the kids saying?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're saying squad. We're going to say squad goals throughout this episode.
Yeah.
And just sort of forcing, it just feels very forced. It doesn't feel like a natural fun. Because again, you look at the TNT that wins all the Emmys. Mm-hmm. They win all the sports awards. Everybody pretty much, they said, even people that hated Barkley love watching that show.
Yeah.
Because you have, it feels like you're watching 4 to 5 or 3 guys, some people are on there, legitimately talking about sports, giving their opinions. Sometimes they break, and when they laugh on that show, it's not, the courtesy laugh of a newscaster to the weatherman where it's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And that's what ESPN feels like. And I don't want to watch that.
No. I think they're going overboard trying to capture that millennial centennial audience who's left them. I mean, they're catering their show to an audience that's pulled the plug.
Right.
And hoping they're going to come back. But if you already pulled the plug, I'm not seeing what you're showing me to try and get me to come back, am I?
No.
So that's what I mean.
And that's not an audience you can listen to what they were saying last week, work it into your conversation inorganically, and then expect them to be like, oh, this show's cool. They're like me.
Yeah.
And it's not going to matter if you add a few more younger people on the show or do whatever you're going to do, or how many times you tweet out as ESPN. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't feel relevant.
No. So I know our sport business moment maybe turned into a little bit of a rant there, but I guess, for something that was so important to me for the last 30 years, I'm disappointed where it is, and I'm disappointed in the vision, and I'm disappointed in the feeling of confidence that these guys know what they're doing and they're going to make some good decisions and revolutionize programming. I'm not seeing that anymore.
No. But what we are seeing this week, wonderful transition,
Yeah.
is NBA free agency. And it has been really exciting.
I tweeted out today that the NBA in this year, to me, has rivaled the NFL in having a 12-month business.
Oh, easily.
We had the playoffs, which were short, but good. We had the draft. Now we have free agency, NBA Summer League, schedule release, preseason, season. I mean, it's 12 months again. So
Right.
you copy the NFL model, and it works. But this year, the stories are really intriguing.
And I think what I'm excited about is that the last 3 years, well, actually the last 2 years for sure, I felt like I was watching a 2-horse race. It seemed like it was definitely the Warriors. And it was nice that the Spurs made their little run. Mm-hmm. And obviously the year the Warriors won their first one before they lost Durant. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma City made a really nice run.
They did.
A legitimate stab at them.
Mm-hmm.
But then, this last, 18 months, I felt like, well, I know I'm getting Warriors, I'm getting Cavs. That's all I'm getting.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking around at all the pieces moving around the board, and they're going crazy places.
They are. I mean, we were both shocked about the Paul George.
Right.
I didn't see that one coming at all.
And again, I tried to look into research, and obviously it's all, internet rumors and sources say. But supposedly Boston literally offered 3 first-round picks, Jay Crowder, and another player. And it's hard to imagine that other teams didn't offer a slightly better package than Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly what Indiana was. If they really, where they wanted to bring Oladipo home to Indiana.
Or if Paul George said he wouldn't go.
Or if he said he wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But I don't think Paul George had any say in where he went. And it felt like if you're Indiana, you're rebuilding, get
probably
the best
not,
package.
I don't think they wanted to burn a bridge with him either. I mean, he went out of his way to say, I'm leaving, get some, which says, get some value for me while you can.
Right.
So, and he might have said, and I'll take a trade to these teams. We don't know.
True.
We don't know.
And we don't know that side of the story.
But it's been interesting. And now the latest thing is Carmelo says he'll waive his no trade clause to go to Houston, or he'd go to
Cleveland. But when you look at both Houston and Cleveland, I mean, Houston obviously made the giant splash getting Chris Paul. But in doing so, they traded away
half
their team. They traded 8 players, including Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams.
Yeah.
And I
They
mean,
traded the guys that caused problems for other teams, is what they did.
they did. They traded the guys that caused problems for other teams, and they traded guys that you could probably use in a trade to get Carmelo.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm the Knicks, I'm not taking Ryan Anderson for 3 more years at $70 million.
No.
But I maybe would have taken another year of Lou Williams, and I may have taken, a year of Patrick Beverley and see if I could have flipped them for something. So if I'm used to, what are you going to, and again, if you're the Knicks, you don't want to add anything. You want assets for Carmelo, but you don't want to add a Ryan Anderson. You don't want to be stuck with some other long-term contract that's going to hold you down. And if you're the Cavs, what can you give them?
I'll tell you what, if Houston gets Carmelo, and you got Carmelo, James Harden, and Chris Paul, they should go play with Ice Cube and play 3-on-3 because those other 2 guys might as well are non-existent.
We got Clint Capella and you got Nene.
Yeah, you got nothing.
Capella's a nice little piece as a rookie.
You got 3 guys that are going to dominate. I mean, how are they going to get? They all have to have the ball. 3 guys. Right now you have 2 guys that have to have the ball, and now you can trade for a third that has to have the ball. I don't understand that one. But again, the whole mentality, the thing that's exciting to me, I think it's exciting to you, is this whole idea that, okay, the Warriors are super teams, going to take a super team to beat them, therefore let's form a super team.
Right.
And super teams are what people get excited about.
And again, it's interesting because, again, that's a story. It's like, all right, you have the 2 of the most ball-dominant players in the NBA. How are they going to make that work?
And you're going to talk about it.
Right. And you're going to talk about it. You're going to want to see it. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see, does that make them both better? I mean, they played together with the Olympics. They discussed playing together. They're good friends. So they obviously think it can work. Mm-hmm. But we'll have to see. The Timberwolves seem suddenly really exciting. They're turning into the baby Bulls. They add Jimmy Butler, and I did not see that trade coming.
I didn't either.
They just added Taj Gibson. Mm-hmm. As they attempt to add every Bull that Thibodeau used to coach.
Mm-hmm. Ricky Rubio left.
But
that was a nice, Ricky Rubio, 9 assists a game.
And Ricky Rubio played pretty good defense. He shot a career-high 3-point percentage this year.
And got everybody involved.
And you know what the most shocking thing about Ricky Rubio is? Ricky Rubio was 26 years old.
Yeah.
I feel like Ricky Rubio has been in my mind as an NBA player for like 15 years.
I don't know if I like that trade, Jake. I mean, I like a point. I don't think a point guard necessarily has to be a scorer, but I guess they wanted to score.
And I think they want somebody that fits sort of that bulldog Tom Thibodeau mentality, and I don't think Rubio is ever going to play that style. I don't think Thibodeau likes the flair that he plays with.
Yeah, we'll see how it works. I mean, maybe Hayward's going to have some second thoughts about leaving Utah now. I don't think so, but I'm just saying.
And again, he visited 3 very interesting places. Obviously, Boston. Mm-hmm. And then the dark horse, who probably shouldn't be a dark horse because they get everybody whenever they want them, is Miami.
Yeah, and Miami sounds real aggressive about him.
Real aggressive about him.
So, Commissioner Adam Silver, fantastic job of what you're doing. Fantastic job of getting people excited about the NBA as a national product. Now, the only thing I'm waiting to see is what does this do for the less than star-driven markets?
Like your Orlando's near us.
Atlanta.
Who just lost Paul Millsap, also to the West. Mm-hmm. And again, it seems like not only are all these free agents moving, but they're moving west, which was already stacked.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so when the TNT schedule comes out, let's not be surprised if we have a bazillion games of Western Conference teams.
Right.
And a whole bunch of Cavs games.
Because you got Cavs. The Celtics will still be, Brad Stevens is a really good coach.
Very good coach. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the potential soap opera. With LeBron, does he stay or does he go?
It does feel like the groundwork is being laid for him to be able to leave.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a year. He can watch.
I mean, David Griffin was let go, and I don't know what LeBron's feelings are with him or without him. Again, it was supposedly came out of LeBron's camp that he is not helping recruit anybody this year. Mm-hmm. So if LeBron is not helping recruit anybody,
then nobody's recruiting anybody.
And
you don't have a president. And you saw today Chauncey Billups withdrew from the Cavs job.
Right. It's a lot of signs to think that, because if he leaves that ship.
I tell you, it's good to have competition and soap opera and drama and stars. You're always talking about it.
It's true. And then, again, even teams with stars seem like they've got no shot when you think about,
yeah,
Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see somebody else go to New Orleans and give them 3.
Well, they just signed Drew Holiday to 3 money.
Yeah.
He got 5 years, $123 million, so he better play like a 3.
Oh, we need to talk about JJ going to the Sixers for
$23 million.
Half of the free world's economy. $23 million per year, JJ Redick.
Yeah. Never a fan of his in college. Kind of grew to like him a little bit from watching him in Orlando.
Yeah.
He really, he works hard.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully he can help sell all those young kids down and make them special. So we'll see.
But they need a physical therapy staff to be the number one thing in Philadelphia. Is none of those guys seem to be able to stay on the court. Because Embiid is just, I think we've talked about it before, but you'd love to have that guy in the league. He's amazing on Twitter. He's hilarious. The 31 games that he finally got to play in the NBA, you saw something special.
He dominated.
He looked like every bit of promise that he was. But it was a short-lived promise.
It was a short-lived one. And then we're going to do our football thing. Let me talk about my trip to Pittsburgh this week.
Of course.
So, I went to Pittsburgh, had my sweet night that I have every year with my friends I grew up with. That was a lot of fun. But yesterday was one of my season ticket holder benefits. And it was Photo Fest on the field. So there's probably 1,000 people. But they circulated every player through, so you would have got, to see every player. So I got my picture taken, Sharon and I got my picture taken with Jordy Mercer and Villanova and Garrett Cole and some different players. And we passed on some just because we wanted the kids to be able to get their picture taken more than us. But I thought, I was watching the faces on the people. I thought, wow, here's a great benefit. You're using your own camera. You're walking on the field. The players are coming out for an hour. Where's the cost? Great benefit because you have something to talk about. And you have photographs you could share. I've shared on social media. Got a lot of people that comment on my social media. And it just shows that's thing. And what I thought was, wow, these guys are really cool. These guys are really nice. And we thank them every time. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate this. This is a great gesture. And said, hey, we're glad to be out here. And Tony Watson, who's been much maligned most of the year.
Including in this house.
But I was impressed that he was one of the first guys out there. And he didn't hide from anybody. He just came out, And that says something about your character and your makeup. But I credit to the Pirates for pulling that off and making it special. And it's a great benefit for a season ticket.
Without a doubt.
And my food thing this time was, I went to Fiore's and Beato's like I always do. It's my pizza places. But I went to a restaurant called Zara's. Zarra''S. Pretty good food. But it was interesting because the way I describe it is if the Addams family had a restaurant, this would be the restaurant. Because it's got some of the craziest decor I've ever seen. It's got suits of armor, Billy the Talking Bass, collections of knife collections, stiletto collection, switchblade collection, Frank Sinatra mugshots. I mean, it's got everything. It was just kind of wild. A really cool place to have a dinner.
Very nice. And now we're going to do between now and the start of the NFL season, because we haven't forgot about the NFL. We never do in this household as Steeler fans. We're going to break down and give our thoughts on every single division. We're going to start with the NFC South. So we'll just go alphabetical and think how they're going to fit. But I mean, we'll start with the Atlanta Falcons.
The only
the last time
is,
we see them with their big Super Bowl hangover.
That's right. The only question: can they stay healthy? Was last year a sign of things to come, or was it an aberration? I've never been sold on Matt Ryan, but he had a great year last year.
He had a very good year last year, but he did not make plays when they needed him down the stretch. And again, I mean, these are just a few things. I mean, they didn't really add a lot in the draft, obviously, like any team.
No.
If you're a good team, you're probably not going to bring on a lot of rookies. They added McKinley, in the first round, they added Ontario Poe as a free agent. But listen to their schedule. They start out with the Bears on the road, which should be easy. Then they got the Packers, the Lions on the road. And then after the bye, they play 3 straight road games against the Patriots, the Jets, and the Panthers.
Yeah, and it's tough to have a bye that early.
And then they've got the Cowboys, and then they go back to Seattle. And that's a pretty brutal 5 or 6 game stretch.
Schedule. And I don't like a bye that early in the year.
No, it's an early bye. I think, as much as I think he's probably, the second best receiver in football after Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Julio Jones does have a tendency to get dinged.
He does.
And last year he was fine for the entire season. And some of the other guys stepped up. But, I mean, they just came off the biggest collapse in, I think, Super Bowl. I mean, my history, I can't imagine a worse collapse.
I'd broaden it, not just Super Bowl. That's one of the worst collapses I've ever seen, period. Because that was almost the beginning of the fourth quarter that comeback happened.
And again, I know I brought this up on one of our shows near the Super Bowl. But you always say in a situation like that, somebody needs to step up and make a play.
Yeah.
And Julio Jones made the most incredible play, and then they still got pushed back out of field goal range. And that should have ended it.
And I realized they were playing against Lucifer and Mephistopheles, 2 of the biggest devils in the world, Brady and Belichick. But still, you can't let them come back like that.
Right, but again,
I think they still win the division, but I think it's a dogfight to the end.
Because that is a brutal stretch.
Yeah, their defense scares me because that was just a big fold.
Because again, you're playing that first place schedule. You got Packers, Cowboys, Patriots, Panthers, Seahawks.
Yeah.
And you got Patriots and Seahawks on the road, which is just brutal. Because you got Atlanta flying to Seattle. I don't know. I do not see them winning the division.
Okay.
I can almost, honestly, I think they might miss the playoffs.
So who do you think is going to win the division?
I'll get to my team to win the division, but I figure we'd go in alphabetical order.
Okay.
But it's not this team. Although I think this team will win a wild card, and that's the Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
I thought last year they were coming off their own Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
From getting beat by Denver.
Yep.
And I know going into that Super Bowl, it seemed like not only me, but many people thought Carolina was just going to run roughshod over Denver. Or at least it would be a close game. And Denver just blew them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a lot of injuries last year, including obviously Cam Newton recovering from shoulder surgery. Their giant wide receivers seem to be even gianter, more large.
Mm-hmm.
Tight end or offensive lineman size at this point.
Yeah, they're big.
They're big. They did add Christian McCaffrey in the draft. And, it's hard to say. I mean, they have a really good defense, but they also have a fairly old defense. And you have Luke Kuechly, who, when he's on the field, is one of the top 5 defensive players in football.
Unfortunately, he's not on the field enough.
But he's not on the field all the time, and he's coming on. I mean, he's had a number of concussions now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many that is. I don't want to speculate, to knock him out. But, I mean, it's pretty brutal. Their schedule, they get the Pats on the road because that division has to play that. But you're also going to get to play the Jets, Dolphins, and the Bills. So you get to benefit from what the Patriots have been benefiting for the last 20 years of Belichick's term, which is playing in a division with nobody to compete against. I really like them to bounce back.
Okay.
I think Cam Newton has taken all of his lumps. I think assuming his shoulder is healthy, which he says that it's going to be. I think he comes back in MVP form, and I think that team is a playoff team.
Okay.
This next team in the NFC South, who I do not see making the playoffs, is they seem to be the Atlanta Hawks of the NFL, and that's the New Orleans Saints.
No defense.
No defense.
Would be a great Arena Football League team.
Great Arena Football team. I mean, they added Adrian Peterson, of all people.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are just done. And I think Adrian Peterson is just done.
A lot of wear and tear on that body. Yeah, I just don't see it. It's a team that they're like a pinball team. I mean, they're gonna put up every record-setting, most completions, most yards, most attempts, all that stuff. But on the other hand, as soon as they turn the ball over, I mean, they get to score 40 points to win
every time.
And I just don't see that happening. I see them last in this division.
And they lost, Brandon Cooks to the Patriots. But again, it seems like sort of like the Steelers of the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to just find receivers and just plug them in and play them. I mean, Michael Thomas was great in the first round, but they also find other guys in the second, third, fifth round that just come in and just play for them. But again, you've got no defense.
No.
And I don't know. I mean, you're not going to go and score a ton of points on everybody.
Yeah. They're getting older. They're my last place team in that division.
And the team I think will win the division. And I do live in Tampa Bay. But I do think that the Bucks, with famous Jameis Winston, are going to win the division.
Okay, and I was going to tell you, I think they'll finish second, and they'll be a wild card winner, and they'll really push the Saints to the wire.
I mean, push the Falcons.
Falcons to the wire. I think they're 1 year away from being mature enough and gelling, but they're really, really close. I agree. I loved the O.J. Howard.
I thought O.J. Howard was I thought he was going to be gone in the first 5 picks.
Yeah.
Because you look at what a dominant tight end can do in this league, whether it's a Gronkowski or one of those guys, and like O.J. Howard seemed every bit potentially like that sort of a difference maker at tight end. He can block in line and he can stretch the field.
Yeah.
Then you added Deshaun Jackson, who's one of those guys that just
knows how to win.
Knows how to get open. And Jameis Winston has got an arm. He can flip it down the bone, and Deshaun Jackson can catch it. Then you got Mike Evans and those other big wide receivers on the outside.
Do you think Vincent Jackson comes back?
I love Vincent Jackson personally as a person. I just don't see him playing.
Yeah, I don't either.
He can't. I mean, if you're not a starting wide receiver, and on this team he's not a starting wide receiver, I don't see him as a special teams kind of player.
No.
Like, I don't see him as a Darius Hayward-Bay like the Steelers, who's fine to be the 5th wide receiver and, your gunner on special teams. And
yeah. I hope there's a role for him because he's been great for the community and I like him. And I think he's a real talent too.
He's a very talented player.
I just think he's, probably toward the end of his career. And
it's hard to say. Maybe he does stick with the Bucks for one more year if they find a place for him. But I just know that, once you get past certain play, they need you to be able to do more than just be a receiver. And I know the Bucks have some other young guys they're excited about on the outside too. Like Cameron Brate and a few other receivers who just, feel like they've, Mike Evans has sort of taken the Deshaun Jackson spot. He's the big guy.
Okay.
And now you got Deshaun Jackson, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard. You got to wonder where his position is in that offense.
See, I'm thinking that the Falcons and the Bucks both go 10-6, but I'm thinking that the Falcons beat the Bucks.
Right.
That's what I mean about them not being able to get over the top yet. But I definitely think they're a team on the move.
And again, they had a really rough start defensively last year, but they finished 12th in DVOA.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we start talking DVOA and some of those football outsiders, analytic stats, I get a little bit eh. But, it still says something about it.
I was at the last game of the year last year. They were 7-8 going into the game. They won. They beat Carolina, won 8-8. But they played hard the whole game. I like the coach. That was his first year last year.
Right.
And thank God we're not changing coaches again in Tampa Bay. So we'll see. But I definitely think it's a team on the come. I think it's a wild card team for sure.
And I also feel like Winstead is the next. As much as it was supposed to be Andrew Luck was next, and I think Winstead far more than Mariota and these other young guys is the guy.
Yeah, we'll see how he fits in. See how he does this year. I think he's grown. He's matured. He's got better talent around him now.
He's got great talent around him.
Consistent coaching, which is big.
He's clearly, stuck to a nice seafood diet.
He's the guy.
He's in shape. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's always going to be, he's got a little bit of that gunslinger in him. He just does. He's always going to throw a couple balls, 50-50 balls. But he's got guys now. I mean, even Deshaun Jackson, when he was little, he comes up with a lot of those 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
And you hope that, another year in that offense, he'll take a few less chances. But, I mean, that's kind of what you're getting with Jameis Winston. He's going to take a few chances.
A little worried about the kicking game.
Well, they spent a high pick on that guy.
I know, but he sure didn't have a good year last year. He sure didn't look like a high pick last year.
No. I know they brought I don't remember who. They brought in a veteran to compete with him this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're playing in a real windy place like
No.
Pittsburgh or Chicago or Green Bay.
And he's from Florida State.
Yeah.
He played in the state. He's used to it. I mean, everything about it just... And he was a second round
third,
pick.
yeah.
Second or third round
Yeah.
pick. It was pretty
It was high.
insane
Yeah.
for a guy that
It was a Sebastian Janikowski kind of pick.
But Seabass can flat out play and
He
continue
can
to
flat out play. A little crazy, too, what you need in a kicker.
Right. And a giant for a kicker, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
He said he wants to play to like 45 or 50, which he maybe can.
Probably can, yeah.
But yeah, the guy that they picked, I forget his name right now, but we'll leave him out of our mouths anyway. But he's not looked good. But they are my pick to win the division nonetheless. I feel like between the schedule of the Falcons and just I don't see them coming back right away from
Okay.
that collapse.
So
I
I'm
think is going
going
to sit in them.
Atlanta, Tampa, both playoff teams, Carolina, New Orleans. That's my four in that order.
And I've got Tampa, Carolina, Atlanta just missing the playoffs, and New Orleans being 6-10, 7-9, somewhere in that mediocre range. Because I mean, Breeze and those guys on offense will put up numbers. And I suppose I'd like to see Adrian Peterson, and maybe a couple games where he looks like old Adrian Peterson at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he's given a lot to the game.
But he was given a lot of chances. I mean, he went to New England. He went to a lot of different places where they looked at him and were like,
It's a lot of wear and tear.
It's a lot of wear and tear.
They still paid him well, too. I'm sure there's a lot of incentives in the contract, but still. But, with as many times as they throw the ball, it's not like he's going to be running the ball as much as he's running anywhere else in his career.
No.
So that'll be different. I mean, he won't run nearly as much as he did.
And we'll see if he can catch.
Yes, we will. And he's always said he has that skill.
And can he block?
I don't think so, but we'll see.
Can he pass protect?
We'll see how that one goes. So who are we going to take on next week? Which division are we going to go next?
We can stick with let's go AFC South next week. We'll stick with teams local to us.
Okay.
So we'll get little Jacksonville news.
Interesting team. We'll see how they go.
So until next week, continue to support us on Patreon, Sutton Family Impact at Patreon. Please subscribe on iTunes. Go to the iTunes store and rate and review us as high as you possibly can, and try to get other people to listen if you enjoy what you're hearing. And if you have any suggestions, you can email me through the Patreon page. And that's about it.
All right. Take care. We'll talk next week. Have a great week.